Pash Fam, it's Paula, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to protect and set boundaries. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I think it's something that everybody is working on, especially in the planner community. I think there's this misconception that because you have a planner, you're busy all the time and you enjoy being busy when that may not necessarily be the case. Maybe you're trying to clear more space for the things that are important to you, but I'm excited because today I'm actually going to be showing you not only how to set boundaries in your life, but how to use the Passion Planner daily to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. I define boundaries as a statement of what is okay and what is not okay with you. And the funny thing about it is it's hard to define because people usually don't know what their boundaries are until they're crossed. When somebody does something that's not okay with you, for example, emailing you or texting you about work over the weekend, and you're just like, oh, I didn't like how that felt, that would be considered crossing your boundaries. You can set boundaries around your relationships, your time, your space, anything that you have control over, but basically you're just trying to protect your sense of well-being, and by protecting your boundaries, you're making sure that you're taking care of yourself first. The first thing you can do to set boundaries is to schedule what I call JOMO days. And JOMO basically stands for joy of missing out, reframing the more commonly known fear of missing out. I think I mentioned this in past videos, but I'm a huge introvert, which means that I need to make sure that I'm spending enough time in solitude to feel recharged and re-energized. And it's really important for me to schedule JOMO days so that I'm operating at 100% whenever I come into work, whenever I'm being present with friends. It's just really important to me to make sure that I'm taking care of myself in that way. And using the Passion Planner daily, you can schedule your JOMO days into the annual layout. And I really like to have my JOMOs, my joy of missing out days, Friday nights, Saturday mornings, and Sunday mornings. So I'm just gonna write down having my JOMOs here. And you can choose your JOMO wherever you want it to be. I just have these weird periods of time where I just really like being alone, and I also limit the amount of social engagements that I have during the week. So on a good week, I can do maybe 2 to 3 social outings, but on a week where I'm feeling depleted, I can usually do no more than 1 or 2. The next step to protecting your boundaries is to seek support from 3 to 5 people. And I stress the 3 to 5 people because I read in a book by Brené Brown called Daring Greatly, which if you haven't read, it's honestly such an awesome read. But she talks about having a 5x5 card with you everywhere you go with the names of 3 to 5 people who are going to be in your corner no matter what. And these are the people who you can rely on. When you cannot protect your boundaries yourself, they will be the ones to make sure that you do. So an example of that would be if you are scrolling through your work email on a Saturday, this person would be like, don't check your work email. It's Saturday, you're not supposed to be thinking about work, you can worry about it on Monday. I write them down in the Game Changer page where it says, and so I just wrote all 4 of their names in there and I reach out to them whenever I need them. So for me, I said that I have asked my mom, my sister Hazel, boyfriend Jason, and one of my best girlfriends, Steph, to hold me accountable to my boundaries. And these people are always there for me. They're always in my corner, help me protect my boundaries. They know how much it means to me and what I'm trying to achieve by protecting them. I think it's really important to have support when you're setting boundaries because it's going to be a change for a lot of people to experience you in a new way. And what I mean by that is if you're a notorious yes person, which I tend to also be, people are not going to be used to you saying no. So it's important to have people who are going to support you. And sometimes setting boundaries can be a huge shame trigger. And so we feel like we're disappointing people when we say no, or somehow we failed, but that's totally not the case. And having people who are going to remind you of why it's important and that it's okay to say no is really important to your process in taking care of yourself. The third step is to know what your boundaries are clearing space for. I think we tend to just think we need to set boundaries for the sake of setting boundaries, which, is important, but it usually helps to have a defining purpose or reason behind it. By you saying no, what is that making space for? Does that mean that you get to save up for a down payment on a house? Does that mean that you have more time for a side hustle or passion project that you've been wanting to do for a really long time. I've talked about tapping into your why in a previous video, and I think it's one of the most important things that you can do because it's going to be the driving force to help you protect your boundaries even when it's really challenging. I mentioned in the last point that people are not going to be used to you setting boundaries if it's something that you're slowly beginning to practice. It can be challenging to feel like you're having to manage the opinions of other people. I think knowing your why and what your boundaries are clearing space for is going to help you stick to your guns, even when it's really hard. In your passion planner, there's a section in the Game Changer page that talks about why is your game changer important to you, or what is your why behind your game changer. So if it helps, you can make a list of all of the things that your boundaries are clearing space for. Work-life balance, more time with your family, time for that side hustle or side project, whatever it is, and you can refer to that page to help you be remotivated to keep going with protecting your boundaries. The fourth thing that you can do, which is one of my favorite things to do with the Passion Planner daily, is to do a future self-visualization. In addition to knowing your why, it's also important to envision what a day looks like where your boundaries are respected. So you would go into the daily layout, plan your day where, you don't have to worry about people trying to infringe on your time. You can do whatever you want in this day. And by writing out that day, from the time appointments to what's on your to-do list to how you feel, it's a really powerful exercise to connect with the person that you get to be on the other end of protecting and setting your boundaries. So basically, I'm going to be focusing on the joy of missing out. This is what my ideal day would look like where all of my boundaries are respected. In that case, I would be waking up at 5 in the morning, which I love that the Passion Planner Daily has 5 a.m. start because all the other Passion Planners begin at 6, but I love to start my days as early as 5 in the morning. On an ideal day for me, I would be waking up to go running at 5 in the morning. That would probably take me about an hour and a half. I'd come home, shower, and then I love to cook myself some breakfast. Then at around 9:30, and this is a weekend, so on a work day, I wouldn't be able to do all of this, but this is a JOMO that's happening this weekend, so just bear that in mind. But 9:30, I'll be journaling, and I usually journal, passion plan, and meditate all in the same few hours, just because I'm the most productive in the morning, but it really depends on what your preferences are, when you're the most productive, when you feel the most at ease, but my mornings are going to be really full. Around noon is when I start to get tired. So, oh my gosh, a nap sounds great. So I'm going to set some time aside for a nap anywhere between noon to 3 p.m. And then I love to go out towards the end of the evenings. And I love going to the movies. So I'm probably going to watch a movie this weekend. And on my perfect day, I would be going to bed, even on the weekends, by like 8:30. So I'm going to put sleep here. But that's basically what my ideal day looks like, that I would be having a joy of missing out day. The fifth and final step is to reflect. And that is what Passion Planner is all about. By reflecting, you are acknowledging the lessons you've learned, but also celebrating the small wins for your boundary setting process, which will never be perfect. I know it's not for me. I've walked into an office being like, okay, I'm definitely saying no. I cannot take on any more than I already have. But then by the end of that day, I had like 20 more things on my to-do list. So definitely an imperfect journey, but that is what we are all endeavoring towards. So some ways that you can reflect, or 3 questions that have really helped me rather, is where do I need boundaries the most? The second question you can ask yourself is, when have I listened to my inner compass in the past to protect my boundaries? The last question you can ask is, what are my magic ingredients for self-care? You can write down your reflections in the space of infinite possibility on the right side of your daily layout, which will be great since you would have just done a future self-visualization. You can also do the reflection portion on the same layout. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I am honestly so stoked that the Passion Planner Daily is here. I love using it, and I hope that you will love it just as much as I do. If you want to get your own, you can click on the link in the description. Or if you want to give it a try first with some of the things that I talked about in this video, you can use the free PDF, which we also link down below. Setting and protecting your boundaries is a really challenging process. I'd love to hear what all of you are doing. Tell me in the comments how you're protecting your boundaries, what you've learned in the past about them, and even how you're taking care of yourself. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.